How soon can I expect my green card? In this video, we'll cover timelines, work permits, travel permits, and green cards with real-life examples so you can have healthy expectations going into your own marriage green card process. We've helped so many couples navigate this journey effectively, just like this couple who got their green card in only 99 days. If you're still trying to find the right solution for your marriage green card, you can speak to us directly by using the link in the description below. Alright then, there are ultimately 3 things you want to get approved, right? So it's your work permit, your travel permit, if you're applying for one, which we will cover it in great detail if you should, and green card. Let's start with the work permit. How long does it take to get an approval these days? It's important since it also means you're getting your social security number assigned. Look, work permits are generally hit or miss since they either get approved right away, like a day or 2 after your biometrics appointment, or you wait for a few months. Based on what we are seeing at this point in time, most of the time you would get it within 2 to 3 months. Obviously there are exceptions, but that's the norm. There was a moment a few months back when some applicants never got a work permit and just got their green card pretty fast instead. These days, the USCIS is seemingly prioritizing the issuance of work permits since they get issued pretty much all the time for these newer applications. Here are just a couple examples from our members. As a reminder, if you want to know step by step exactly what you need to do to go from "I have no idea how to address this green card situation" to "Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing step by step," and prepping your entire application in well under a month, you can connect with us today and save yourself a bunch of time. All right, moving on to travel permit conversation. First, very often couples come to us and go, okay, we're ready to file for a green card, but we need to travel to a wedding outside the US in 4 months. How can we ensure that we have our travel permit by then? Just as a reminder, if you leave the United States without a travel permit, the USCIS will assume you abandoned your adjustment of status application unless you're on one of those rare dual intent visas, but most people aren't. So to answer that question, there's really no way to ensure you will have a travel permit by a certain date. It's the risk we take when we apply for a green card inside the United States. You have to assume that you will not be able to travel for some time, right? It's kind of hard for me to give you timelines because sometimes applicants get approved for combo cards, so work and travel permit in one document, and sometimes they're first approved for a work permit and then later for a travel permit, which each of these will have their own timelines. It is somewhat rare to see a travel permit approved in the first 2 to 3 months. It normally takes at least 4 to 6 months, as an example from our community here. Which means that you have to plan ahead of time if you have some important trips coming up. You cannot rely on the USCIS to accommodate you since they are too unreliable and too inconsistent. That being said, you do need to know that you can expedite your travel permit, and we will include the resource in the description of this video for you to review. You need to have a valid reason to expedite, and the USCIS website offers some really great examples. For instance, when it comes to weddings or personal commitments, you need to have proof of an invitation or reservations, and if the event is not yours, then you also need the documentation of the connection between you and the individual and the pressing or critical need for you to attend. Here's another thing. Very often, after applicants are approved for their travel permit, another question comes up. Is it safe for me to travel outside of the United States while my green card application is still pending? The reason why this question comes up is because of the scary language they include on the travel permit, such as parole into the United States is not guaranteed. This goes to the question, okay, so should I even apply for a travel permit if there is some risk of me traveling? Many attorneys advise people to sit tight and only travel after getting their green cards or in case of an actual emergency. There are, of course, some risks. What if your green card application gets denied while you're overseas? In practice, however, that's the whole point of that travel permit. Now that you have to pay $630 for that application and the travel permit is valid for 5 years, you might as well use it if the need arises. Obviously, for individuals with criminal history or prior immigration issues, it's a separate issue. It's a separate story and they need to consult an attorney. But if it's a straightforward situation, the risk is there, but it's certainly minimal since people use travel permits to re-enter the US every day. It is ultimately all about your tolerance for risk. Now let's talk about green card timelines. First things first, it's very unpredictable. I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but it truly is unpredictable. I just want to share some examples with you to give you an idea. Keep in mind, we still have some members waiting for their green cards for over a year, but on average, it takes under a year even in bigger states. Here are a few recent timeline examples from our community. Interestingly, all of these were submitted in March of 2024 and approved in August, early September of 2024. Irrespective, in your case, you would want to prepare mentally for a year, since after a year, you can start bugging the USCIS through your local representatives, and that often gets your application in front of the right person for adjudication. At the same time, if you really think about it, does it really matter how long it takes? So long as both spouses get to be together, that's all that matters. Plus, when you get your work and travel permits, then there's really isn't much to worry about at all. Okay, so just to recap, 2 to 3 months to get your work permit unless it gets approved right after your biometrics. Around 4 to 6 months to get your travel permit, but can take even longer or faster if you expedite. And about 12 months to get your green card. It might come through significantly faster, like 60 to 180 days, but we cannot expect the USCIS to process all applications that fast. Now, like this video and we'll see you next week.